How to be amusing. Yes, how to be amusing while in print is, it can be a challenge, but it can also be fun. So, one of the things I did is I had a bunch of characters that were just legendary smartasses. The type of characters that you would think Loki from the Marvel movies. I love watching Tom Hiddleston. Oh, actually, an even better way, since we're on that vein, Joss Whedon. How in the world does Joss Whedon exercise that much amusing banter into his stories? Well, the truth is probably through editing. My books have all gone through a lot of editing, and you can tell which books have had the most editing depending on how clever the characters are. Now, I have recently created a book called The Black Ruff of the Woods. It's under my Red Wolf story series, but it has a terrific amount of smart alecky banter. But that is because of just I don't know, that book just really, really went along very smoothly. I wrote the whole thing in about 6 months. I had a collaborator who basically wanted to commission me to write a story for them, and I was like, well, I've never done that before, so you feed me ideas and tell me what you want, and I will write it. And so I would write a chapter, and I would send it out to them, and they would go through it and go, oh my gosh, that is great, or okay, can you change this? And I would make some alterations, and we went back and forth, and instead of charging them for it, I said, okay, the price of this, I get to publish it. And they were like, that's fine. I, would be fired from my job anyway if anybody knew that I had engaged in a story that was even remotely sexual in nature. And all the Red Wolf books are very sexual in nature. What's cool about it is if you read some of the bits and pieces of them on Amazon, you will discover that you can actually read the first few pages. And if you read On My Honor by Red Wolf, you will discover it opens directly into a sex scene, and then you can say, is this the level of smokiness I'm interested in, or do I want something else? You will know right away. So, with that in mind, how do you be amusing in print? Well, there's different ways to do it. One is I have a folder on my phone that is part of my Google Docs. Google Docs is the coolest thing ever, by the way. And it's a quote folder. And I collected so many quotes over the years that I've had to divide them up into different categories, from, war quotes to smart alecky quotes to, sexist quotes to just, I have a whole section labeled things drill sergeants say, because I plan to write a military thing at some point. And I really don't know how I'm going to choose which ones to put in there, because there are so many amazing things that I've heard drill sergeants say that it's just like, whew, I will probably start with the things that my drill sergeant said when I was in the military and go from there. We'll see what's appropriate. But before I had all those quotes built up, my father had a book in his basement. It was called 1001 of the Best Things Ever Said. And it was a giant book of quotes, which was one of those, things that you had before the internet made it all just Googleable. And as a result of that, there's a lot of stuff in there that I read through and was just like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. One of my favorite ones is in the first Little Red Wolf book. Puck encounters Selena and is, trying to flirt with her, and she is just, a vicious, nasty jerk to him. And at one point, he says he's just going to move along, and because she's just not interested. She's not that interesting. And she's like, what do you mean I'm not that interesting? And he just keeps on rolling along, and he goes, Don't worry, I will always treasure my initial misconceptions of you. Now, that was in that book. That was in one of the cool, the best things ever said. It was in that book, and I saw it, and I just went, that is a puck line. So if you want to make a story truly amusing, one of the things you can do is you can write the dang book, which is always the first step, and then go back later and be like, find a bunch of quotes that amuse you, and then go back amongst your characters and be like, who would possibly say something like that? Maybe you get it exact, maybe you get it similar, but always have fun with it. Because in the end, fun is what this is all about. Laters.